Hey, Angelina County knows outside Luther County. I've taken a little break making videos because I guess I was waiting on this reply from County Attorney of Angelina County. For those of you that may or may not know, I put in freedom of information request to the sheriff and the county. They took it over, and so basically, I wanted to know all the details plus the videotape of the death of Mr. Michael Stolik. Now, the timestamp on this is that it's very important we understand that HB 30 was passed in 2023. It took effect on September 1st of 2023. So this entire statement that he's bringing back to the Attorney General is outdated. The states the 552.301, the Texas government code, all that, all these issues or cases that he's brought up is dated before September 1st, 2023. Now, for those of you that don't know about HB 30, it is a law that was passed. The nickname of this law was called the dead man's loophole. So, in other words, if a person died in custody or by the hand of law enforcement, um, then because they weren't indicted, then they didn't have to release information. So we go back to the two cases, Smallwood and also Stolik. We know that their booking was delayed. Mr. Stolik's case, he was in the booking area or was in detox for 2 days. Maybe I'm speaking out of turn here. It just doesn't make sense to me. It doesn't make sense how the Attorney General cannot cannot rule in favor of releasing the video and all the pertinent information. Now, where we come up with is that none of this information that I requested, um, it was answered. They actually appealed to the district attorney's office, which, if you guys know or know, in Angelina County, that is just pretty much a ruse. It buys up time. Um, District attorney's office doesn't respond to these appeals, but about 45 days. So, in other words, it buys them time and get their story straight and get everything together or whatever. So, and past released, the in the Smallwood case, the HB 30 did not go into effect in time for them to actually have to release the information. So that's the way they got away with that because the law had not been changed. However, after September 2023, then um, it changed. And it was annotated and prefaced that law enforcement could now no longer use the dead man's loophole when um, entering freedom information requests. In other words, they had to take off the table that if he's been convicted, then if he's not been convicted, then you don't have to report on it. This was HB 30 was in the House for extended period of time, but it passed both the House and Senate uh, with majority in both the House and the Senate. And the reason why September 1st was the actual date was because the before Congress adjourned, they called and asked. They called and asked the governor and said, "Why are you holding off on this? We want this to go in." And his statement was, "Well, I just pulled it out. I just pulled it out from the middle of the pile and signed it." So we don't know if he would have acted on this earlier, if this our Smallwood case would have actually gotten further attention. However, the fact is, they're stating that release of information would I'm reading it right now, that it would interfere with the investigation, the detection, investigation, prosecution of a crime. So, in other words, they're still investigating. There's still an open investigation on this accordingly to the county attorney's office. Now, if you call the DA, if you call DPS, the Texas Department of Safety, they're the ones who actually turn it over to the Texas Rangers for independent third-party review. And we would hope that this would be this investigation would go. They would completely investigate. In the Smallwood case, James Hicks conducted the investigation. I actually wanted to get a review of his investigations. I requested the list of his investigations that he's done since 2022 to 2024, just to get a feel on how he conducts his investigations when it comes to being a third party in prison deaths, and also whenever he's actually preparing a case for the district attorney. In other words, well, what do you want the report to say? What do you want to say or whatever. So basically what we have here is we have a sheriff who is refusing to release a video of an incident, which is an accident, to show the people what actually happened. Now, there's two ways of looking at it. Number one is the fact is that, what, as taxpayers, we want to see what's going on in the jail because we're dumping a lot of money into the jail. And we want to see what procedures you go through. So are we required to put more money into the jail for training to make sure that deaths don't continue to happen? Because like I said, we have to go back and think. We've got 2 deaths within a year. Both of them were arrested for public intoxication. And within a year, those procedures need to be reviewed. Issuing restraints needs to be reviewed because the fact is that they have caused or potentially have caused or contributed to the death of these 2 individuals within a year. Now, from a taxpayer standpoint, we know we've got the extension going on, and either you're for or you're for it or against it or whatever your reason may be. But here's my point: if we can't guarantee the safety of 250 detainees, and all these were pre-trial, they hadn't even been to trial, hadn't even seen the judge yet. Pre-trial detainees, how are we going to be able to handle another 200 that they're proposing that we clear up bed space? We already know we have a staffing issue. Now, to add insult to injury, we're going to put 250 more or 200 people more. I believe it's 200, could be 250, 200 people more than what we currently have. Now, when I say we'll have the addition of 200 additional beds and bunks available, well, that doesn't make any sense, because the fact is that because of the long waits and turnover time of our justice system, these individuals are going to be sleeping on the floor. That's part of the court. If you know of anybody, or you have talked to anybody that has been in Angelina County Jail, they'll tell you, I sleep on the floor, pull the mat on the floor. I have to, because the fact is there's no room, and they don't have bunks to sleep on. So now we're going to add another 200, but now we still have the issue: can we properly take care of these detainees? I can't stress this enough. These individuals are detainees. They have been arrested. They've been accused of a crime, but they haven't been found guilty of this crime. So they are really innocent until proven guilty. That's the way it's supposed to work. But no, due to the practice of our judicial system issuing high bail amounts, people can't afford jail. They can't afford bond. So they have to stay in jail waiting for their court appearance, which could be a year, 2 years down the road. So ask yourself, if you get accused for something, and most of the people that I'm talking to or whatever, you know what, I can afford bail. I'll mortgage my house. I'll do this or whatever to get bail out or whatever on a bullshit charge. Then you're part of the lucky ones. What about when the justice system issues bail at $100,000? And what was the crime? Public intoxication. Was it possession? Well, I can see a higher bail amount, but in other counties in the state of Texas, you only get $100,000 bail if you committed assault or a crime or murder or accused of murder or drug selling drugs, assaulting children, assaulting your wife. Then you get high bails. But the backlog of the system is caused because the fact is that no one can reach bail, and the way that affects the whole justice system is the fact is that these individuals cannot acquire proper the proper defense. They cannot call an attorney. The attorneys in Angelina County Jail or Angelina County, they'll take up to 6 months to come see you in jail, figure out what your story is, and prepare a proper defense. No, they're assigned. They're assigned. Attorneys assigned to you. He'll write you a letter saying, "Okay, call my office," and they block phone calls from the jail. So you have no access to any defense attorneys. You have no access of what offers are on the table. You have no say so or have any knowledge about how your case is progressing. So it's a multitude of problems, and where do you put the thermometer on it, or you actually read the meter? Well, I think it's time for us to read the meter when two individuals' deaths have been caused or have been occurred since they're in Angelina County Jail, and we can't receive the information on how it happened. We can't review the information. Basically, if it's pretending a criminal investigation, well, then they have to state it. Okay, it was being criminally investigated by so and so, and this is when we submitted for the investigation. This is when the investigation started. This is who we're interviewing. This is who the people we haven't interviewed, and be fully transparent. They don't have to say the names, but we're interviewing the witnesses at this current time. But just like we know in the Smallwood case, they allowed Texas Rangers allowed Angelina County Jail to investigate themselves. Now, I don't know about you, but the fact of the matter is that that's just galactically stupid. Because the fact is that even in the report provided by Sheriff Selman, there was no witnesses interviewed. None of the trustees nobody was interviewed. They're clamp down on all the information regarding the death in our county jail that we pay taxes on. I get this all the time. People say, "Well, they're lower class individuals. They're scum of the earth. If we hadn't arrested them then, we'll probably arrest them for something else or something. If we arrested them now, it's probably good because it's something they did do and we didn't catch them doing or whatever." Okay, all that is a great argument. However, the fact is it goes against directly the Constitution. It says that you're innocent until proven guilty. There is a process that we must follow to abide by the Constitution of the United States and the Texas Constitution. Angelina County is skipping that step. Now we know from witness statements that there are excessive force in the jail. There are illegal use of restraints. We know all these things. Matter of fact, I put out a meme. It's like, I put a picture of the Angelina County Jail. The first song I can remember was, Hotel California. You can check in, but you can't never leave. And that's a shame that we have to say that about our justice system. But for all the Christians out there, and there's many Christians that go to church and everything, whatever. And the fact is that, you know what? God didn't hang out with, with upper. No, he hung around and knew that the people down at the bottom, they needed help. And we're refusing help by someone getting arrested for public intoxication and dying in the jail after 2 days of being in detox. Now they've let it leak out. Oh, we suspect cardiac arrest. Okay. Are you a damn doctor? What does the medical personnel on site say? Well, we can't really say the information. We're not going to tell you what they said. We're not going to tell you what his blood pressure was, because it was in range. Well, what range? There's a range where the American Heart Association says, hey, this is kind of normal. This is kind of, and this is out of range. That even though he's maybe intoxicated or whatever, he's in this range for cardiac failure. So basically, I have a couple of questions, and I'm going to try to make this short and sweet. Well, they say that, that release of the video would actually show the video cameras and all the security aspects that they have and their procedures and what's going on or whatever. Well, I hate to be the first one to tell you, but that's what they're there for. Okay. Matter of fact, many people have seen that the courts have ruled and said, hey, you know what? You gotta produce those videos when somebody dies in your jail, especially. We all have the Uvalde situation that walked on for 2 years without them showing the video or the complete video. And when they showed the complete video, then there were additional charges brought forward, because the fact is just the same kind of situation, because they didn't interview all the witnesses. They didn't interview anybody. The DPS came out and said, oh, these officers, reading original reports, these officers were displayed as heroes. We know better now. And this is the kind of checks and balances that the county needs to put on our elected officials. We need to actually start asking why and demanding them, per the law, that they have to provide this information. The Freedom of Information request is nothing to be taken lightly. We know that here in Angelina County more than anybody, because we had a judge who was removed from his office and being charged for violating the Freedom of Information Act. Well, how does this make any difference? We just want to know how a person died in prison. If you don't want to know it, then don't read it. Don't. But I guarantee you, somebody will look at the information and say, you know what? Hey, look at here. This is what's been going on. This is why it's happening. This is what somebody else told me over here that they were in jail or they had a brother in jail. But see, we're not asking the right questions. We're not asking the questions of the people who are actually in charge of releasing this information. But here's my point. They say that release of this video would release pertinent information on these individuals. Would describe to them or pictures of them or what would violate their privacy. Okay. Well, then tell me why the sheriff's department can get away with, when you get arrested, the first thing you do is you go in there and take a picture, and they write all your pertinent details down, even to what you were arrested for. They'll even put the bond amount if you've got it by them. But you won't have a bond amount till the next Monday morning. But hey, so you can release the information to the press of a person you just arrested, and all their pertinent information, date of birth. They don't do social security number, date of birth, description, his photos right there. Everything is right there. Isn't that a violation of privacy? And I don't know, in Houston, public company against Houston versus City of Houston, and dated back in 1976. This is where they're drawing their legal argument from back in 1976. Well, this is 2023. A lot of things have changed in law enforcement for the good and for the bad. But also the fact is that we're narrowing down into these laws that have allowed these individuals to get away with this without disclosing information to the public. And my simple question is that I asked my dad, I was like, I told him the situation. I said, and he's an old gentleman, about 82, 83. He's 82 now, getting to be 83. But anyway, I asked him, I said, why won't they release the video? My dad just looked at me and goes, what do they hide? So this brings together a whole different beast that that question's got to be answered. 2 deaths in a county jail within a year, and you won't release any information on it. You won't release the video. You won't release. You will not release pertinent details about the investigation. They won't even release the coroner's report. And based on why they won't release the coroner's report, because when they did it last time during the Smallwood case, I actually was the one who, and I hate to, but I'm not. Anyway, I looked and I saw for my own 2 eyes that he was dead at 11:36, and they didn't book him till 12:28. Common person would say, why? What's really going on? Now, it really makes me think about our mentality and our faith and our sense of right and wrong. The fact is that if you are of the belief and you say it out loud or you think it in yourself, so well, they got to be guilty. Based on what? Has a jury of their peers convicted? No. Have they even got to get there? No. But the bottom line is 2 individuals are dead inside the Angelina County Jail who's in detox. One of them in restraints. We don't know about the other one yet, but they're both dead. Shouldn't somebody be answering some questions here? I don't know why it's not on the agenda for public comment. Maybe somebody can know somebody or whatever to get it on the agenda so we can actually ask, so we can bring up the points that they're currently missing. The state, the cases that they have, and Mr. James Yukowski, I'm sorry if I mispronounced his name. I'm sorry. Okay, they're quoting laws that are in the past, haven't been ruled on from 1976, haven't even been ruled on. But in essence, yes, they really have, because we have the Uvalde decision. The city attorney broke down and finally released the entire video of the Uvalde shooting. In every county, they are making a concentrated effort to show and expose how the process works of their family members when you go or get arrested for a crime. It's public information. That simply right there of how it's operated, the standard operating procedures for restraints in Angelina County. You don't even have to have a certificate. You don't even have to take an online course. You know why? Oh, well, it's OJT. On-the-job training for putting people in restraints. Who trained you to do it this way? There's got to be. I'm a Marine. Everything you do is written down. Everything you do. How to take a piss. How to salute correct. Everything is written down. And you go by the manual. But this is not being done here. I will make the case that there should be no more money spent on our Angelina County Jail until we have a solid answer on how these deaths occurred. For us as an oversight committee that will strengthen our resolve. The fact is that, now we're going to get 200 more prisoners in there. How many are going to die? How many more are going to die? And what are the procedures about actually hiring? Who? What's the quota on how many people you need to hire to expand this jail? Now, a caveat to this, and I'll end with that. I'm going to do another part on this because like I said, I got pages of this crap. I've gone through, read it over. It's the same bullshit. It's the same different day. Just a different attorney drew it up. But I don't understand, and I can't comprehend the aspect of this, but it all made sense to me when somebody was telling me that, well, currently right now, the state, we get reimbursed by the state $35 per people we got in the county jail. Okay. I'm by that. We pay for it in our taxes. Okay, I'll buy for that. But then again, they said, well, if we take in prisoners from other counties that are in their county jails and we house them in our jail, then we get $75 per individual. So now we're trying to make money off of jails. I could see breaking even. I could see him make a little profit for training, for equipment, for training, for range time, ammo, range time, whatever they need. Use how to properly use a taser gun. But that money is not spent. It's not spent on education. It's not spent on making these officers that we have employed better. Everybody knows that whenever you go to an academy or like I went to boot camp or whatever, when I came out of boot camp, I was just a basic Marine. I didn't know the ins and outs. I didn't know a lot of things that I had to be, like we called it going to the fleet. We went to the fleet and we learned the real shit. We were just basic infantry, and then we got there, and then we learned our occupational specialty, whatever it may be. And then they sent us to school for our occupational specialty. And then we had to graduate from that school to even have that MOS. But training has got to be provided in order for this not to happen. If you're not properly instructing these individuals on what their duties are and what happens when this happens, or when this happens, then you got a problem. Now, last thing. How many deaths have to occur within the Angelina County Jail before somebody of importance pays attention? Before somebody realizes, hey, there's a problem here. You've already seen it getting blown out of control in Harris County. They've already had 13 deaths. Some are heat related, some are not heat related. But anyway, they got 13 deaths. Smith County, the same thing. All these counties around here who are relying on the job training are not cutting mustard. We don't do shit the old way. We don't. We strive to be better as people. And for those who believe that we shouldn't give a damn about these people and them dying or whatever, I can add, what if it's your kid? What if it's your uncle? What if it's your father? What if it's your mother? Whatever, and they come up dead in the jail? Wouldn't you want to have answers? Wouldn't you want to find out? You owe it to the victims. You owe it to the victims' families. You owe it to the public to show how a death in a county jail happened. Even when they hung people back in Texas, they had to have witnesses to make sure it was properly done. We don't have no witnesses. We don't have nobody. We have nobody who wants to speak out and say, hey, this is wrong. And the reason why, because we don't want it to happen again. We're trying to do the best as a public as to giving the funds or whatever is needed to ensure this is not happening again. But we're not being given the tools. It's not even mentioned at the commissioners' meeting. All of the commissioners said they had that they had received no written report by Sheriff Selman. I asked for freedom of information request. I asked them, give me any material plus a report that Selman presented to you from death at the county jail. They don't have it. So I'm going to copy and paste this. I'll share this for those of you that would. I would appreciate it if you share it out, because the fact is, you know what, we got to start talking about this kind of crap, because not just because of the deaths or whatever. We got to start talking about preventing these kind of incidences and how we can better train individuals to recognize things medically, physically, or whatever. Because losing one person, when I was in Afghanistan, losing one person, we knew exactly how that person died. We knew exactly what transpired, what events transpired. The witnesses were there. Everybody testified. And then that report was compiled, and that report was presented to their families. Any case scenario of a person dying, you at least owe the respect, not only to the families, but also to the public. So where do we draw the line? Here. I'm waiting I have 45 days to wait for this to come back on its appeals. I know it will. Why? Because our Attorney General, he's got bigger and better things to do. He's going through and looking at possibly illegal voters and trying to stay out of a scandal or paying somebody off or something. But anyway, he's not damn sure not doing his job, because he issues an opinion on this. And this opinion, per the Attorney General, walks on water. You don't even know the case. He just knows the case numbers and the subject. You think he gives a rat's ass if somebody died in prison? No, he don't give shit. Does he give a rat's ass if somebody dies in prison and he could have prevented it? No. There's not an agency who gives a shit about explaining or preventing deaths in county jails. Not in Texas. Not in Angelina County, Texas. There was supposed to be a microscopic review on all heat-related deaths in county jails in Texas. It's introduced by the DPS. You know how many they've completed? Wonder why that is. Because somebody may be held responsible for creating those conditions. I don't know. It's just me. Anyway, please like and share this. If you don't like it, share it. But this information's out there for you. And maybe you said, well, why? What's going on? Because somebody's got to, man. Because we're talking about the death of an individual. I think that's, to me, that's one of the things I think we need to understand how it happened. Thanks a lot, guys. Appreciate you. I'm out here.